Alright, so I'm going to try to walk through a process I would go through. Just kind of speak aloud, think aloud, and make a few comments here. So this is a passage I think that I would like to use as a CTR for this sample we've been doing for Of Mice and Men. And we're really working on the impossibility of the American dream. So I'm trying to break this piece down and find some of the small pieces. I know it's an important moment. I want to try to capture what makes it important and what gets at the impossibility of that dream. So we've got Crooks in here right now. We've got Curly's wife, that's the she that keeps being referenced. And at this point, Candy is going to be intervening in a moment as well. Lenny's here also. He spoke earlier, but I'm not going to keep him in this passage. I don't think he's important enough to the scene, or at least at this point, to really go there. So things have been building. She's come in, she's confronted the people. So when I introduce this CTR, eventually I'm going to make sure that I establish that. But Crook stands up at his bunk, he faces her. "I had enough," he said coldly. So I think that's interesting. There's kind of a cruelty here. I'm going to see if I can capture any more words like that that get at the way that he's saying. We're seeing repetition of the word rights. So I might try to link this back to the introduction where the room is described to, let's see, room description, and also when Lenny first comes in. He keeps saying you have no rights. So rights is his attempt to wield power here. He's very comfortable with what he has rights to do, and he thinks he has an understanding of what other people have a right for. We don't really know yet, though, if that's actually accurate. Now notice he gets really upset here, and he says, "I'm going to ask the boss." He gets upset. He says, he doesn't say, "I'm going to ban you." He has to ask permission from the boss, who holds all the power. So this is going to help me show I had established one of the criteria of the American dream as access to power. And I'm going to show he has no power here. Even if she's doing something she has no right to do, he can't stop her from doing it himself. All he can do is ask the boss if the boss can stop her from doing it. So I'll probably want to talk about that. Okay, so she turns on him in scorn. So, you know, before up here I had linked that coldly, you know, and I think here we see scorn. So she returns his tone of hostility. Boom. N-word, yeah. So, what are you going to say about this? She's using the most insulting term that she knows. Insulting language. Going as deep as she can with her cut there. Now, once she does that, look at this. He stared hopelessly. Loss of hope. In staring, alright, I need to think about what that implies a little bit. Why did he stare? Why didn't he look at her? He stared at her. I think what we see here is maybe a silencing. His voice, he only has his eyes to fight with now. So now that he's been silenced, all he can do is stare at her, and he's completely hopeless. He sits down, and he draws into himself. Draws into his shell. Alright, so I picture this turtle. That's kind of what I visualize here to escape this danger. And then she closes. She senses she has the advantage now. You know what I could do. Okay, here we have a rhetorical question. They all know. But she's going to make him answer. Alright, so that's what I'm noticing here. She's really closing on him. Then we see this word used again. You keep your place. Okay, so this implies there's a strict hierarchy here. Hierarchy, if I can spell that. In place. And he just crossed a line. Also, that again, kind of that inflammatory language that we saw earlier, which is really disturbing. And here we get to the actual threat. So this threat of lynching. And she says it's so easy it ain't even funny. Alright? So here we have kind of a colloquialism here. Show how definite maybe her power is to control his life. Even though she's not in a position of power with the other men, we see that she has placed herself above crooks. She says, I may not be good enough to go into town, but I'm certainly better than you, and I'm going to make sure you know that. Reduced himself to nothing. Alright, this is kind of a tragic moment here. We're witnessing really the loss or maybe the death of a dream here. And I think this is where Crook's American dream dies. And that's, I think, where I'm really going to try to push this CTR to show that this is what happened here. No personality, no ego. So we have parallel structure here to emphasize how he has nothing to offer and no way to escape the situation. Alright, so again, that American dream is impossible for him right now. No personality. Look, nothing, toneless. So I wish I could highlight multiple things at the same time. Everything referenced in terms of negation, the absence of these things. So powerful language by flipping it. In no person, nothing, no, nothing, toneless. Everything here is in terms of negation. So she stood over him, waiting for him to move, but Crook sat perfectly still, his eyes averted. Everything that might be hurt drawn in. So again, this kind of powerlessness, right? It's all over in here. It couldn't be more clear how little he has in terms of power right now. Okay, old Candy was watching her, fascinated. If you was to do that, okay, why fascinated? Why is he fascinated? That's an interesting word choice. I think he's just amazed at how quickly they moved from a position of power. Three men united with one common dream to powerlessness. One woman crushing those, or that, I guess, that dream. So I think that's what's happening here. He just can't believe what he just witnessed. Um, he says this quietly, so with reservation, in fear, lacking confidence. I'm not sure exactly how I'd say it yet, but that's definitely something that I would do. Tell and be damned. Nobody listened to you. Nobody. Again, negation. What you say matters to no one. Harsh. And he says, no, nobody would listen to us. So again, that repetition, emphasizing that powerlessness. Okay? So I didn't cheat on this. I didn't look at this early before I sat down. All I did was copy this from an online version of this book so that I could demonstrate it to you guys. That took about 11 minutes for me to walk through and basically do close textual reading. I've got all the raw material here that I need now, and now it's simply a matter of sitting down and writing this out. Before I do that, I would want to start looking at some of the patterns that I'm seeing in terms of some of the language, cold, scorn, later she cries. Okay, I might just look at some of the tags, but then I'm definitely going to look at how many times there's no and nothing, nobody, anything spoken about in the absence of, or in terms of that negation. So I definitely want to look at that. I'll probably walk through it though in a fairly organized manner, either paragraph by paragraph or section by section. But I would say out of this, I've got at least a page and a half and probably 2 pages, because I'm going to keep hitting not only what I'm noticing, but again, what are the implications and how does it all funnel into the impossibility of the American dream. If I lose track of that, then it's just an empty exercise of showing how I can pull a piece apart. It all has to funnel back to this impossibility of the American dream. I hope this helped you guys.